popular and we didn't have coaches and many tennis courts, I didn't really feel that. So to be doing what I loved every single day and to be doing it next to my father, although it was a really big chance, it was a really beautiful story.
You know, it's all about also risk taking. And I'm sure, you know, that was a big risk. And without risk don't come rewards. And you come over from, you know, in my dad's case, he was forced to leave. This was your choice.
Right.
And which turned out to be a great choice. But I'm sure you were taught the tenacity and the passion and so forth from so many of your role models, people that are in the tennis world and so forth. So I just have one question to ask you, because I don't want it to be about tennis completely, which is, I know, such a huge part of your life. So if you had to pick one tennis player, here, dead or alive, that you could have played a tennis match with at Wimbledon or anyone, who would it be?
I will start with Steffi Graf. I'm going to do one female and one male.
Yes, one female, one male.
Because I loved her style. Actually, Monica Seles was always my favorite, but I got a chance to play her a couple of times. And Steffi, I never played against. And I enjoyed watching her because she was so elegant and she made it look easy, and that was hard for me because I was talented, but I was tall and I was lanky and I wasn't a good mover. When she moved, she was fluid and, you know, she looked really beautiful doing it. Even though I knew how physical and how hard it was, like the work that she was putting in. And I think my male choice would be John McEnroe, because I would just have a lot of fun.
I think, you know, from learning about you and reading your excerpts from your book, I did kind of get a feeling that it would kind of be like John the bad boy, Maria the good girl. And I think that is amazing. You know, I would want to see that tennis match myself. That's amazing. So my last thing is, do you still play tennis? How's that? I mean, and what's it like?
I haven't in the last couple of months because I've really been home. Yeah. But I certainly will when things ease up and we're able to move around and be a little bit more flexible. It's something that I love so much, and I will certainly be on the court, and it will feel strange and odd, and but I'm okay with that. You know, I've always been someone that accepts like feeling that I'm not necessarily in a position of knowing it all or feeling great, and I like finding a way. So I'll embrace that feeling when it comes.
I think that's great.
Yeah,
that's great. Unfortunately, I think all the tennis courts are closed now, but
they are.
Once they open, I think that probably will be an exciting part of your life. So the other thing is, you know, you've been such a tremendous role model for so many years. And, you know, tennis is such a sport that we all love to watch. We all love to view. You won Wimbledon at 17 years old. I can't even imagine that feeling. You won 5 Grand Slams. What's that feeling like? You know, you prepare, you put so much time and effort into it. You don't know if you're going to rise to the top as you did. So what was that feeling like of winning a Grand Slam?
Yeah, victory is so emotional. And what I love about the sport is that it has this match point. So like, you could be going into any match feeling tired, feeling unprepared, feeling inexperienced compared to your opponent, but you always have a chance. And when you get to the opportunity, if you do, of a match point, especially at a Grand Slam final, it is unlike anything. It's so hard to describe. I felt it 5 times in my career.
Yes, and which is amazing.
It is unique, and it's also very humbling, and it's I look back at those memories of my first couple Grand Slams, and I would say they came from a place of surprise, and I didn't expect to win and achieve those things at 17 years old. I followed it up with a victory at the U.S. Open in New York City at 19, in a city Amazing. That completely intimidated me at the time. In an arena where I was supposed to be so focused, there was so much distraction, and I found a way to get through all that noise, which actually I felt was maybe more of an effort than the actual tennis, because it's a skill set that you must come forward with when you're a professional athlete, is how do you get rid of all the noise around you and just play in your mind and be in this small, use the energy of the crowd when you need it, play off of that, but also count on your instinct and your own ability and your own belief. If you don't have that belief, that's where it all starts, right? That pure belief in yourself. So the feeling is magical. It happens so fast, and when you do become a champion, you're all of a sudden in this place and that place and doing this interview. And, you end up having dinner with your team and celebrating, but you're so physically tired.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And mentally, I'm sure.
Yeah, because it's a moment of just letting go. And you hold so much tension throughout those 2 weeks of a Grand Slam. And it is so, when you let go, everything just, you're tired. You just want to wake up in the morning, and you know how in the morning when we're drinking our cup of coffee, we're inspired, and that feeling of waking up with a Grand Slam trophy next to me is that image. It's not even the image of me holding a trophy on the court after I win. It's waking up the next morning and realizing what I'd accomplished. That's very special.
Which is huge. We all have our accomplishments, and we all have our failures in our life. Mm-hmm. And I know you've had challenges in your life through your career. Something really interesting. I was on a podcast last week, and it was about mentoring kids and my advice to them, how to start your career. And I used the kind of the quote, failure is a condiment that gives success its flavor, mm-hmm. which is one of my favorites. But the person who was interviewing me said to me, don't use the word failure, use the word practice. And I thought that was terrific, because I think, of course, you can relate to that. It's not always what it seems like it is. And I know in everybody's life, no one really realizes the struggles, what you've gone through, how much you had to prepare, and then giving the opportunity to do what you did and then achieve success. It's just a great thing.
I don't know how you see it, but I've always thought it's different when you're young, because when you're young, you don't have much experience. So you're very emotional about the things that come at you immediately. But I do find that the challenges and the way that we handle them ultimately set us up for later challenges in our life. So, and although they're never exactly the same, and maybe they're in different parts of our life, but the way that you handle, a loss of a job, or, passing away of a family member. And really when I say the way you handle is you can be frustrated and sad and emotional, but the way that you work yourself back up to be positive and to have a good outlook will help you so much in the future. And when you get another challenge, the experience of the one that you faced previously will help you so much. And it's really the way that I see the position that we're in now. Most of us are, I'm sure, because I feel that way, are in this position of how there's so little that we can do to help. Right. What we can do to help is stay at home and, encourage this physical distancing. But on a bigger level, what can we do? Probably very little right now. And But I'm trying to find, and if we think about what's going on, it's very scary, and we're full of fear and anxiety, and it's tough to look at the bigger picture because the bigger picture just seems so grand and unattainable right now. And in a moment like this, it's almost as if we need to focus on just ourselves and how we come through every single day and how we handle this emotionally and do it in our best ability so that we set ourselves up for what's to come in the rest of our lives, because we'll get through this and there will be other challenges along the way, and hopefully not on a scale as massive as this one, but we will be faced with other things. And you know what, the reason I enjoy speaking to you, and we spoke on the phone the other day, was kind of this concept of we're in the business of this indulgence, right? Like, I can't imagine, I'm proud to be in a business where you know, we sell sweets at SHARAPOVA, and you're selling beautiful, attainable, really well-priced cashmere. And at this point, these are all little pieces of happiness. You know, this little piece of indulgence, these things, like when I received the package earlier today, I was so happy. Like, I was like a kid at a candy store.
A kid in a candy store. Perfect introduction to you, Maria, the entrepreneur.
Yeah, so these little pieces of indulgences are so important, and I'm proud to put like just smiles on people's faces.
Yeah, and you certainly did put a big smile on my face with your amazing...
With a little box of sugar.
With a little bit of sugar. So Maria she started in 2012, correct me if I'm wrong, SHARAPOVA.
Yes.
And I want to say...
SHARAPOVA started...
We do have quite a bit in common because as far as business,
right,
packaging is so important. You know, what's the first thing that comes to your door, and then you open it, and it made me so happy. It also made me so full. And gosh, you know, I just...
Good for you for not opening those.
Well, I opened 2 of them. I have to be honest, and Bruce does not eat sweets, so it was me, myself, and I. Okay? That's a hard thing to do.
You'll have to send some to your children as well.
Yes, well, they're on the East Coast. I'm sure they'd love that. I know my daughter has my sweet tooth, but this was like a box of love to me. It really was. It really was.
I mean, it is. Well, the SHARAPOVA is really a labor of love, and the idea came from this, like, I guess, a female version of a Willy Wonka. Like, I used to go to movie theaters in the United States and see these vast selections of gummies, and I was like, what is this? I've never had this candy before. And I took that like simple idea. I was 21 years old. I had shoulder surgery, and I thought that this could be an opportunity to start my own business, like having some experience helping other brands, whether it was part of a marketing campaign with Nike or a Tag Heuer at the time. I took that education and I brought it into SHARAPOVA, and it's really been like an MBA on the job. I will have to say, it's taught me so many things. And as you know, in business, you can be as prepared as you want, but there will always be things. And that's one thing that I took from my sport is, even though I knew my schedule all the time and I had some sort of expectation, I knew when I was ready for a match and when I wasn't, but you always had to adapt to uncertainty. And in business, it's very much the same thing. And so I've tried to take those lessons from my sport and utilize them in the sweets brand, which last year we launched, as you got in your little package, natural gummies. Like, our blue raspberry is colored with spirulina, which is a freshwater algae. So we're having a lot of fun experimenting with flavors and creating better for you product.
That's amazing. And you know, it's such an interesting thing because doing what you love comes out, and loving what you do. And I feel so blessed that I love what I do so much. And I know that, you know, it's years and years of successes, of failures, of tenacity, of pushing through, of it it takes a team. It takes a lot to be an entrepreneur. So why candy though? Was it because you had such a sweet tooth? Was it because this is just...
I will be honest with you, when I started it, I was 22, 23 years old, and maybe even 24. I don't remember how old.
Okay.
But I wanted to start in an area in which I actually had a passion for, because it was my first, I really wanted the responsibility of the business decision making. And with my experience with brands, I was always a very small part of it. So why candy? I'll be honest, in the beginning, it was like a hobby because it was a subject that I was passionate about, I knew about. And honestly, the balance of indulging and getting that little treat at the end of a good practice, it happened all the time throughout my career, and it still does. I'll come home and I'll feel like today I pushed myself, and I'll give myself that little treat, even though I know what it's like to be diligent and to be healthy and to maintain, a good frame of mind and a good strong body, because that was a huge part of my career. But I also understood the side of growing up next to my grandmother, and she didn't care if she put half a teaspoon or a tablespoon of sugar. That was this is how you make cake.
Exactly.
That's how you make cake. So I use this balance in my life of 80-20, and this 20% of indulging in things that I either crave or things that are important to me, whether it's self-care or an item that makes me feel good, or sweets, or a piece of cake once a week when I feel like it's a good time for it, or it's just been a tough day. And I always say that when we are constantly saying no to ourselves, we can't have this, we can't have that, it puts so much stress on our mind. And we have to be flexible, and we have to let go. And we all know, there's so many diets out there, but at the end of the day, we know what's healthy and we know what's not, right? We know what's better for us. I think consumers around the world are very educated. They understand, but they also understand that you can't be 100% strict with yourself. With whatever it is, diet, working out, you have to give your body and your mind a break.
That's a great way of putting it, and we all do. I do that with myself. I'm able to say, I had a long day, and I wanted some SHARAPOVA, or
a glass of wine,
or a glass of wine, or tequila, whatever it takes nowadays, right?
Yes,
whatever it takes. So do you think that you used a lot of your tennis experience to get you where you are in business? And I just have to preface this in saying that, not only do you have SHARAPOVA, I read in your book, Unstoppable, that you also designed your own clothing for Nike, for your tennis attire. I love that. I know my husband always says to me, he just took up golf, and he said, oh my God, I wish I could design golf clothes because they're really ugly,
Well, if there's anyone that has the capability to do so, it's him.
Yes, I do agree with that. But let's keep that between us, okay? Because I don't want that to happen. But what did you use from all the years of learning about yourself, about what you're capable of doing? How did you apply that to the world of business?
So I guess there are a couple avenues in that. I would say, as far as my mindset and the type of leader and businesswoman I wanted to be, there are a lot of lessons that I learned within my career. And that came from the idea of never giving up. So, having challenges along the way and finding a way to come through them. The team was something that was very important in my career. At the end of the day, although I was the leader of that team, I could never do it on my own. And that's such an incredible part of business as well, is you need an incredible team that help you bring your vision to life. So as long as everyone has a very similar vision, their expertise can be different. So those are, I think, the points that I took from sport. But I also, throughout like my trajectory when I was younger, like we didn't have much money as a family. So the first few contracts and the money that I made were important because it allowed us to spend on travel and on all the necessities that we had, that we needed to as a family, so that my dad could be my coach and didn't have to work. So that was very helpful. As I made that money and as it became more financially secure, I started looking at endorsement deals very slightly differently, not where I thought, okay, I don't need the money upfront right now, but maybe there's an opportunity for me, especially if I'm interested in a brand, to help it grow. Because I've built a platform, a voice on which I can stand and speak on. And if there's something I'm passionate about, I would love to share that brand with the world. And one of the first few that I invested in was Supergoop, which is a sunscreen brand.
Yes. I use it.
That was like 10 years ago. And, Holly, I fell in love with the brand. I was buying the product. I met Holly, who was I heard her mission, preventing skin cancer. She was brilliant. Like, she